How's it going, YouTubers? Cornwall here, back with a video. Finally back up and running. I have used some previous footage for the Civic going around the track here, so do forgive me for that, but I just wanted to bring you another video now that I'm back up and running. Moved house, got the internet sorted, although it's a little bit slower than I was promised, but it'll speed up in a few months hopefully. Running back at normal form. I've seen I've had quite a lot of new subscribers, so welcome to all the new subscribers. Sorry that my videos have been a little bit few and far between, but as I said in a previous video, moving house, and anybody that's old enough or understands these things that's watching this video will understand the stresses that do come with that, and unfortunately gaming is one of those things that has to be pushed back a little bit. But we're back, and this first video that I'm doing is part 2 of the back to basics, something I've been promising for quite a while, and quite a few of the subscribers love the first video just to get into things and have been asking me about it. This is actually about the third time I've recorded this. I was playing around with my Elgato a little bit, and trying to get the quality up a little bit more on my recording. It was messing around with the sound input, so I've sorted it out now, and that's when I'm live commentating, if you like. So on the third take I've managed to get it down, so we've got that coming up, and unfortunately due to dashboard issues and things, I've not been able to get on any of the red versus blue things and different ideas that myself, Rock King, and Moneyman, and Stella Stig have got in the pipeline. Can't forget Stella Stig, since he's the pioneer behind it all. But there we go. It'll happen. It'll happen. We're getting there. But unfortunately, because I had the newer dashboard, we wasn't able to hook up. So hope you enjoy this video on the Back to Basics series. Just a quick shout out to Rock King, Moneyman, and Stella. Stella's given me a few pointers recently, and also a few shout outs on his channel, so I think that's where a lot of the new subscribers have come from. Got lots planned, lots of tunes to come, bit of Titanfall, so enjoy this build and tune. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to comment, like and subscribe and all those wonderful things you guys do. So here we are at the track. As before, I've picked Catalunya National. That's just a preferred circuit for me. I know the circuit quite well. It's got the right amount of corners. So what we're going to do is just rev this car up, backfire a bit, and then we're just going to take it for a quick lap before we get on with the actual tune. Just gets the tyres warm, and it just gives you a feel for the gears, how the car's going to react before we even start changing anything, and then we can go from there. So as I'm driving around, I'll give you a feel for it. So I think the brakes need a little bit of work there, just for my preference. The gears, normally I'd be going around here in second, so it is a little bit squirmy. I haven't touched normally I have a base set up in my head, so I'd potentially do some things before even taking it out on the first lap, but so yeah, it's a little bit squirmy, but it's not actually too bad. So it's not too bad there, it's fairly tight. Handled too badly when I'm slowing down. Sometimes when you slow down on a base setting it will get a bit squiffy, but it's not too bad at the minute. It's not too bad under power. The corners, it's sliding a little bit, but it's nothing we can't tune out. So we're just going to go through the basics of tuning, and then go from there. So that's us done our first lap. So I'm just going to cross the line. There. So pause it there. Going into the tuning setup. So normally I'd put my tyres at about 27. The optimum is between, I think, 32 and 38 for maximum grip. So obviously that's not what's on here, because you have to allow for the heat to get into the tyres, so you'll alter the actual PSI. So that's why we get the temperatures, the tyres up to temperature, sorry, and then that'll allow for the air inside them to expand. So we normally lower or heighten this, and then that'll allow for the heat. Gearing, it doesn't look too badly spaced, to be honest. I'm just going to add a touch more acceleration. So let's just put that up to 445. So sorry, I've taken the tyres down to 27.0. Obviously you can see it on screen, but for anyone that's trying to multitask, so I've just taken all the default gears I've left as they are. I've just changed the final drive to 4.5. Alignment, this basically, the camber and the toe is how how much angle the wheels have. So for anybody that watches Formula 1 or anything that's got open wheel cars on them, you'll notice that sometimes the actual wheels taper into each other to a point, or taper out, and that helps them turn into the corners. And normally they have a significant point, so they're almost going into quite a triangle, and that's the camber, and the toe is how much they've already kind of turned in. So I normally leave these at 1. It's a good base setting. The toe I normally put at 0.1 and minus 0.1, just as a good base setup. And the front caster is basically the angle. The higher it is, the more it acts like a rear wheel drive, and the lower it is, the more it acts like a front wheel drive. And it's how the car pushes around the corner. So I'm just going to add that to 5.7. Roll bars and springs I'm going to leave for now. Apart from that, I'm just going to drop this as low as it can go. From my experience, if you go any lower than about 3 inches off the ground, you're going to start to scuff it and scrape along the ground, which then alters how the car handles and things, and you don't want to be hitting the ground. This only goes as low as 4.9, so we'll drop that to the deck, that's fine. Springs and dampening we'll leave for now. Aero we'll leave for now. Brakes, I'm just going to add, I like 53% to the front, and it wasn't great, so I'm just going to add 10% here. But the braking, this is all personal preference. If you prefer the brakes towards the back, add it towards the back. If you prefer a little or less pressure, the only thing I will say is that I don't run any assists, so there's no ABS on assistance when I'm driving. So this makes more of a difference for someone that is running with ABS on. But that's just what I prefer. Deceleration and acceleration. So obviously, as we added the differential on, at the minute I don't find that the cars, I can't make up my mind about the acceleration or deceleration, but there isn't any deceleration on it at the moment, and that's if it gets a bit unsettled when we're slowing down. So I'm just going to add 20% on here, which will hopefully, when we take the finger off the throttle, it'll help slow the car down for the corner, so you don't have to brake as much, and it will naturally slow. So we're going to apply that, back out, and then finger on the trigger, and we're going to resume. So because we added that bit on the onto the final drive, it is actually going to hit the rev limiter there. So it's still not turning in as tight as I'd like, but that's because we've not really touched the springs. We're just trying to get the power down. I've added a touch too much acceleration there. Normally I like to go around there in third, but we'll see. We'll see what it's like once we add a bit more power to it, and once we get the turning angles better, we might be able to say, yeah, that's fine. Obviously at the minute I'm having to slow down a little bit more than what I naturally would, purely because I haven't got the turning angle there. normally you should be able to take that full throttle and really get the power in, but obviously as you can see I overshot there. So I'm just going to bring up the telemetry, go across about 4 or 5 points, and you can see that the front tyres are at 32.3, which is good. Back tyres are a little bit cooler on the pressure at 30.9. So basically, because this is a front wheel drive car, front engine and all that, the front is naturally going to be hotter than the rear. The rear is not doing much other than keeping us stable because everything's at the front. So what we'll do is, it's gone up a little bit, we're just going to put 1.5 I think. So what I'm going to do, just get around this corner, pause it there. So 1.5, that should be fine. I'm just going to get to the front and then we'll alter some other bits. So I'll take this, just going to drop this telemetry off. We can come back to it later because it's really hard to drive when you can't see what you're doing. Last couple of corners. Pause it there. So tuning setup, and oops, press the wrong button. Right, so the roll bars. So we'll do springs first. Sorry, springs first. So what you want, depending on where your engine is, and it also depends on where the most of the weight is on the car. So I'm fairly certain, well, I know for a fact that this car has got front wheel drive, front engine, all the weight's at the front, not much at the back. So you want the springs to be softer in the front because that's where the majority of the weight is, so it's going to be working harder. When you brake, all the weight's going to the front, and if it's stiff, it's going to upset the back end and stuff. So we're going to drop the rear. It'll also affect how it understeers and oversteers as well. So we're just going to take that to a solid 6.602. I'm going to drop the front springs down to 5. And it's all up to you. You can bang these all the way up to the top, all the way down to the bottom, do them at opposite ends, and just get a feel for the difference they make to the car. You might find a setup works differently for you than what it does for me. So we've got them at 500.4 for the front and 602 for the back. So we're going to back out there, get back to the car, and let's just see how it handles. And where you can stiffen some bits up, you can soften it in other areas and things like that. So just locking up the brakes there. I can tell it's wanting to handle a little bit better, not massively. Is wanting to get around those corners better. So just finish this lap just to get a greater feel, and then what we'll do is we'll amend the anti-roll bars, and the anti-roll bars work in conjunction with the springs. I always tend to change the springs first, then change the anti-roll bars, just because the anti-roll bars tend to be more of a fine tune, and what it does is it stops the car's body from rolling, so it stiffens the whole car up. So although you're going to soften them, you're not in the same sense softening it up as if you didn't have it on there, because if you didn't have it on there, it'll be softer and all over the place. So you're just going to, in a way, loosen the elastic band around them. So we'll just pause it there. and we will go to the anti-roll bars. So again, they're softer in the rear and we want it softer in the back. So I'm just going to take this to, I don't have as great a difference on here, so let's have 20.20. Let's take this down to about 15.2122. So let's just see what difference that makes. So I've got 15.22 and 20.21. I'm not going through everything, I just want you to get a feel for how tuning works, and just to get it into your head of the process that people go through. And as you say, I'm not locking up the brakes now either as much. It's wanting to turn. The good corner around here to know what's happening is the higher speed corners. So there's a bit more turn in it there. I prefer oversteer to understeer. I do use torque steer, so torque steer, especially in a front wheel drive car, is when you can get on the power and then you can feather the throttle and use throttle control to help you get around a corner. Sometimes it just helps pull or push the car around. In some cases it just wants to go straight. So I'm not going offline too much now. I am going to just soften a little bit up, just cut that corner a bit. So this is the telltale corner, because I should be able to, yeah, you see we're still running wide there if you're trying to get on the power. Pause it there, get back on the tune. Quite happy with everything else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's lower this to 400, see what happens. It's all just to see how the car handles. A rear wheel drive car will handle differently to a front wheel drive car in terms of tuning. Obviously they handle differently, but in terms of tuning they tune differently, and each car's different as well as to how it likes to alter its weight distribution. See, that's wanting to turn in now. So if we were to change something in it, it feels unsettled, then you know, or a lot more unsettled compared to what we did just have it at, you know, then you've changed something wrong, or you've added a little bit too much, and that's when the fine tuning comes into play. But this seems to be a lot better. And obviously if you're doing this as I'm driving around and you keep pausing me or whatnot, you'll feel it yourself. And obviously, although I'm showing you how to tune and what you need to change and how to change it, I am still tuning it for me and my play style. And you might drive and take things slightly differently to me, but it's just giving you a feel for what to do. So I might just tuning setup. Let's take those anti-roll bars down a little bit. Let's take that down 2 points. I'm just going to take this down to 10. You have to be careful you don't make a car too soft. You make it too soft and it's just bouncing all over the place and you haven't got a clue what's going on. And the car just will get unsettled at every bump, every braking point. It seems to want to turn in a bit tighter now. Now when I'm tuning, I go through phases of having a in-view car, so as if I'm behind the wheel, and then racing from this point of view. When I'm tuning, I do prefer to have this view, just because I can see what's happening, but it's all personal preference. Just because I prefer this view for tuning, it might not work for you. You might want to almost feel what it's like to be behind the wheel, whereas I like to actually see. You know, I'll be able to see if the car's bouncing around a lot. Not that you won't be able to feel it in the cockpit or see it in the cockpit, but you know, it's nice to physically see it from an outside perspective. Yeah, that's better for that corner. Some corners you might just be pushing too hard. When I'm tuning, I tend to push quite a bit. Now what I'm going to do now is, I'm not going to explain it in great detail, I'm just going to alter the dampening. So the rebound is the springs. Stellar Stig does an excellent explanation of of what rebound is and bump, but basically it's kind of to do with the shock absorbers and the springs, and it's how much they compress and then how much they uncompress, and it's that bouncing of the car. I normally run about a 10.1 and a little bit softer in the rear, but for a rear wheel drive, as I've just remembered I'm doing a front wheel, so I'll probably have it this way around for a front wheel drive, and we'll just take that down to about 5.6. So if you go to Stellar Stig's channel, I'll put a link in the description, and direct you to his video where he goes into a lot more detail about the bump and bump stiffness and rebound stiffness, but let's just apply that, see what happens. So we've got 9.2, 10 point, sorry, got a frog in my throat, 10.0, sorry, can't get my words out, 10.1, and then the bump we've got 5.6 and 6.8, and let's just see, it might just, it's more the fine tuning I use the bump stiffness for once I've done everything else. Let's just see how we get on. Seems to want to, let's try and see if we can do this in fourth, since the car wants to be in fourth. Third's always a good gear for around there personally, doesn't matter if you have to change up. You don't always want to be changing up through a gear, but through a chicane like that where you're not really turning, it's not such a problem. I can see we're getting sparks from the rear, but I think that's because we've got the skirts on, and not all cars have the fancy skirts and different things, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's only those that are catching. Yeah, just really wanting to turn in now. Yeah, beautiful. Take this for a last lap round, and we'll probably leave the tune in here. We've not used any aero because I don't feel like we need it. I've just put it on just to help us if we did need it, so I'd probably leave that as it is. It also gave us a few extra points in the tuning as well. If I felt we were squirming a little bit, I mean, might find it'll help push us to the ground a bit more, but front wheel drive cars don't always need it, to be honest. Some of them do. It just depends on the tuning you're going for and how fast you want to get into these corners. So as I've said at the start of this video, before we got into the tuning, now fully moved into the new house, got my internet going, slower than what I'd have liked, but hey ho. it allows me to do what I need to do, a bit of gaming. A few Titanfall videos coming for you. Still concentrating on the Forza ones, and obviously I've got my BTCC series that I've got just in the process of just finalising some of the tunes, and I'll get some of those uploaded for you. I wanted to get this one done because it's one of the first videos I did where I was doing a bit of a build and tune and on the fly training. So we've now got this tune set up, ready to go. Take it out there, see what you think. Anything below you want to add, anything you want to ask, if there's a tune you'd like to do. So we've got the BTCC tunes coming. I've now done this one, so that completes this little bit of a series with this car with the front wheel drive. We'll probably do another back to basics with the rear wheel drive, all wheel drive, just mixing it up a little bit. Few more tunes for you to come just generally. Again, the Titanfall videos, and hopefully now I've moved and pretty much settled in. A couple of boxes knocking about. More videos will be coming. Welcome to all my new subscribers again. Thank you for subscribing. I have had a few people unsubscribe, and obviously that's because I've not had the activity I'd have liked on my channel. But I have kept you all in the loop. I do apologise that they've not been as frequent as I'd like. It's just one of those things. Everyone moves house, and obviously I have a full-time job as well. So it's a juggling act. Obviously new to the YouTube scene, so we're still developing, and I'm grateful for that you're all here with me on this journey. So a few more videos to come. Hopefully, as promised, I'll be able to do the series with Stellastig, Rock King, and Moneyman 300. Unfortunately, when we was going to do it, I had the beta for the new dashboard, which didn't allow me to do anything with anyone else that wasn't on the beta, which was just absolute rubbish. But everyone's up onto the new dashboard now, and to go from there. Just one final little tip from me: if anybody does want a video for this, please do request it below. But I do recommend you upgrade your controller software, which is on the settings menu. Again, I might do a little video for this, but if you do want it, request it below by all means. With the latest dashboard update, which brought the party chat functions, that is the updated firmware for the controllers. This, a lot of people may believe, is just for the headset adapter, but it also it was mainly from Respawn that said that the controllers wasn't as sensitive as they'd like, or too sensitive. I can't remember which way around it was. So it's not just for the headset adapter. If you're not bothered about the headset adapter, I'd still recommend you do the upgrade. It is in the system menu. You just have to plug it in with a wire, and it upgrades your controller. So I recommend you do that for your controllers and for all your controllers, even if you're not bothered about a new headset, a new the adapter. If you want to use a different headset, like your Turtle Beaches or what have you, and your Tritons. There are lots of other headsets available out there, but I would do recommend that. So if you do want a video for that, it is in the system settings menu. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head whereabouts. Just put a comment below, and as always, I do appreciate the subscribes, the likes, and the comments, and I will try and get back to you all. Until next time, thank you very much.